Greetings, everyone. So a lot of people always ask me why I don't rent or own any properties in New York as a landlord. I'm going to read two articles, brief articles with Airbnb regarding Airbnb and New York. And then I'm going to tell my experience when I try to run an Airbnb rental in New York. All right. First, I'm going to tell you my opinion is I think that New York City, when it comes to Airbnb, is full of shit. But I'm going to read a little of two articles. Okay, so there's the New York Daily News. New hotline allows NYC tenants to report illegal Airbnb rentals. This is June 2017. The new hotline will educate and engage and mobilize neighborhood residents to stand up to Airbnb by filing complaints that will help the city with blah, 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 blah. All right, here's another one. New York is cracking down on Airbnb with sheriffs and obscure building codes. And this is by QZ.com. So I'm going to read a little of this one. Shortly after Nan Doyle stepped out for brunch on Labor Day, three men with badges rang the bell to her apartment in Brooklyn's Fort Greene neighborhood, which is close by where I had a place. Doyle's Airbnb guest answered. He was staying with her in her three-story brownstone she bought with her husband in 1998. The badge men asked if they could speak with the owner, and when the guest said she was out, they asked whether he was renting the apartment. The man said yes. He and his family had booked it through Airbnb. The badge men then asked if they could enter to inspect the building's sprinkler system, which they said might violate New York City's building codes. When the Airbnb guests refused, they wrote out 4 civil summonses, right? Each carried a fine of $1,000 each. The legislation was billed as helping the city to crack down on landlords and other bad actors who were taking permanent housing off the market by renting out residential units to tourists. See, now right there, that's the cat out of the bag. That's one of the cats out of the bag. And let me look at this other article, just maybe read a little more of it. An anti-Airbnb coalition is creating a hotline for New York City tenants to blow the whistle on illegal short-term rentals on the home sharing service, the Daily News has learned. Share Better, a coalition of politicians, housing, and tenant groups and unions, says the hotline is designed to assist New Yorkers in filing actionable complaints against Airbnb illegal short-term rental. Now let's look at these people that are protesting this. Politicians, housing and tenant groups, and unions. So it sounds like somebody's losing money here to Airbnb, and that's what this is really about. I had a commercial space in the Williamsburg area of Brooklyn. And I put it on Airbnb. I didn't think nothing of it. I put it on Airbnb because I purchased the place really for my video studio, my video photo editing. I was going to use that and put a green screen in there, and I was going to use that just to do my editing and everything, and then rent it out for that reason. Actually, I wasn't going to rent it out. It was just for me to work out of. But then I was never in the place. So I said, here I am. Why did I get this place if I'm not even using it? So I said, here. Now, this space was in a loft building. It was a building full of lofts. This floor just happened, the basement level happened to have maybe 6 boxes in there. 6 like spaces with high ceilings, really nice spaces. And there were 2 washrooms on the premises. So I said, well, let me use it for Airbnb's the photography space. Now, Airbnb does have an arts section, or it did back then. So I put it as in the photography space, whatever. Anyway, I put it there. The same day, I thought nothing of it. The same day when I got home, I looked at my calendar, and I was booked from April through June. I mean, that's how many people booked it. I had to go in and start blocking dates on the calendar because that's how many people started just booking it. So I had musicians, I had professional dancers from Sweden, from all over the world, Spain, all over the world. People were coming and renting the space of mine. So I don't know how word got out, but one of these coalitions here had the owner of the building contacted me, and this is the broker the person who I was paying this unit off, if I put down a down payment on it, so I had to pay it off. Realtor, owner, whatever you want to call the guy. Anyway, he said, I heard that, I think he said authorities or someone approached him about it. And he said, I just want to let you know, they said that they've been looking at Airbnb at your ads and to tell you that you're going to get an $80,000 fine if you don't stop renting this place out. So I immediately took it down. Whatever guests I had left, I canceled on them. But the ones who it was too short notice, I had to come out of pocket and put them in hotels. So now I love Airbnb. I think it's a great way for people to make money, for entrepreneurs. And you have people that own multiple properties. Some of these people are not even using these properties. So Airbnb helps them. It also gives people options. Let's say hotels cost too much, they're all booked, right? Airbnb has a need. But when it comes to New York, you have a lot of greedy people in New York. The real estate is overpriced. So Airbnb is chopping into the pockets of a lot of people. You have a lot of these homes on the market that even when they sell within, they said the average home in New York sometime within 6 or 7 years is back on the market. People, it's that expensive. You're looking at houses that start at $500,000 and can go way over that into the millions in New York. So you have people that get these houses and then they lose them. So you have a lot of houses on the market that are just sitting there. No one's buying. So of course you have those realtors. You have a lot of people that are really getting upset with people that are making money on Airbnb, especially the hotel industry. Those are the biggest culprits of this. And a lot of these landlords, I guess, who they want people to come and rent in their spaces. Hotel owners, motel owners, and you have people that just like saying basically you can go bleep yourself. You know, I'm going to stay here in Airbnb. And I was only charging $50 to $60 a night for mine. That was it. But you're looking at maybe from April, May, June, for 3 months, you're looking at almost every day straight booked. So you can do the math on what the finances were, or the money I was making on that, and the overall potential if I kept it on for the summer when the rates started to go up, when I could have raised the rates and maybe even probably charge someone maybe 80 to 100 a night if they couldn't find any place else, especially people that sometimes try to book you short notice. Those are the ones, if you want to, you can really hit them in the pocket, or, you know, charge a little more, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's supply and demand. But the thing with New York is it's a very, very tough town for Airbnb. It's the most unionized city, I would say, in the country. So you're dealing with a lot of red tape when you're trying to run a company like Airbnb. And you have these bogus officials with these bogus sting operations, just harassing people that are trying to make an honest living. I mean, the article goes on and calls them bad. I mean, it has all kind of names for people, and it's worded, you know, it's the New York Daily News. So it's worded so that you, the reader, when you read it, you immediately think of some culprit or some underhanded person trying to get over, when all they're doing is using their place to make extra money, right? I see nothing wrong with that. And then they have a hotline that people can call, and then you're looking at all these fines. You can find yourself in some real financial trouble. So I would say that's one of the main reasons why, after that experience, when I decided I wanted to be a full-fledged landlord, New York was crossed off my list. In fact, it's one of the worst cities for a landlord. It's one of the most tenant-friendly cities. New York, you could actually have a tenant that you're trying to evict, and it can maybe sometimes take a whole year before you even get in court with that tenant. So you have someone there living rent-free that long, that can be just driving up your expenses, creating damages to the unit. That's a lot to deal with. And I hate to deviate from the topic. I know the subject is try to stay on Airbnb, but I just want to give you a glimpse or some insight for those of you that don't live in New York, and for the people that ask me all the time. Like two of my best friends own houses in New York. And they own, one friend of mine owns two-family properties. So, and he rents them out to tenants. And then I have one friend of mine who has one family. Actually, I know three people in New York that own property. And I can say, when we talk about the end of the month, the money that we have left over, I actually have more than them. Why? Because my overhead isn't that high. with my property in Pennsylvania and Florida, and soon South Carolina. Once I fix this house up, my mortgages are not that high. The cost of living is not that high. So even though the rent is less, I'm buying multi-units where they're buying two-family, one single family and two-family. I'm going for buildings, properties that have no less than 3 apartments each. So anyway, I'm going to get back into Airbnb. I'm really looking at Philadelphia, which is another hot area for Airbnb. But New York, once again, is one of the worst cities for Airbnb. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone that's trying to be a landlord. Stay away from New York City. I mean, not to be a landlord. Anyone who's trying to hustle off of Airbnb, New York City is the wrong place to get your hustle on. New York State, period, because some of these laws are going all the way up to Albany, which all the legislation is done at. It's in Albany. So just avoid New York State, period, if you're trying to hustle off of Airbnb. Anyway, I'm always open to feedback. Hit me up if you want. You know where you can follow me on Twitter. You can look at about me and you can see all that information. Thank you.